What's up? Glad you're back. It's another absolutely beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest. I am out in the Mount Rainier area and I'm going out for an overnight trip. This week I wanted to do things just a little bit differently and just bring you along on a trip, talk gear, eat some food, that sort of thing. Normally my videos have some sort of, overarching theme or something that I'm trying to teach or something like that. But really this time around, I just wanted to keep it low key and bring you along on a trip. The weather today is absolutely beautiful. It's somewhere in the low 40s, so it's definitely gonna be a cool night. I hope that I have enough warm gear for it because it'll probably drop below freezing. Overall, it's very Pacific Northwesty out here today. It keeps alternating between rain and sun, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Right now, I'm in a bunch of cedars, but the fall colors are absolutely popping, so I'm hoping that I can get some shots of that. But anyway, I'm glad to have you along. In terms of packs, I have the Exodus with me today, which if you've seen my short on it, I absolutely love this pack because it's super light and pretty huge. But I got to admit, with camera gear, I'm definitely pushing the limits of frameless packs and might need to upgrade to a framed pack at some point here. I also wanted to take a moment to thank everybody for all the kind and compassionate comments that were left on my last video where I talked about some of the health issues that I'm dealing with right now. It really meant the world to me that lots of people were wishing me well. Alright, well, what an eventful day this has been. So, I ended up getting to camp in the dark, which is exactly what I didn't want. I always hate setting up camp in the dark, it's never fun. But we got it done. I'm super cozy at this point in my sleeping bag and in my tent. I'm still testing out the Z-Packs triplex. I have been getting the question from folks, does it get condensation inside of it? The truth of the matter is it's a single wall tent. It definitely gets condensation inside of it. There doesn't seem to be any building up yet, but I haven't been here that long. But the thing that I like about this tent and the reason that I purchased it is that there is a ton of room at the head end and the foot end because of these pullouts here. I realize that most single wall shelters have pullouts, but for whatever reason, just the placement of these, it seems to work in such a way that it just gives you an enormous amount of extra space, at least for me anyway. I'm not really bumping anything, and it's similar down on the foot end here. So while yes, it definitely does get condensation just like any other single wall tent, I don't really worry about it because I'm not gonna touch it. I think it's gonna end up being a pretty chilly night. The weather report said it was gonna be right at freezing, so 32 tonight. I have my Z-Packs 20-degree classic sleeping bag. I have a full Montbell Expedition weight base layer on under this. Expedition weight sounds really intense, but it's really not. It's just their heavier weight thermal underwear. And then my Montbell Puffy on top of it. Oh, and also I'm using my X-Therm sleeping pad. So when I got to camp, I decided not to cook dinner tonight. I did eat, don't worry, I'm feeding myself. But I have just a little bit of water left. I have maybe 1/3 of a liter or something like that, which is enough to get me through the night. There's a lake pretty much right behind me. I don't know, maybe 100 yards or so from me, from the campsite here. For whatever reason though, the water level seems to be super low, so it's a bit treacherous to get down there right now, and I didn't really feel like doing it in the dark. So I'm gonna save all my hot food for tomorrow, and I just ended up eating some cold food, which I had. I did intend to get a video of dinner, but like a true professional, I forgot to hit the record button, so there was that. I was thinking to myself as I was hiking up here, how lucky I am. I ended up seeing, man, it must have been close to a dozen elk. All kind of scattered about. I'm a very, very lucky person because I'm out here and I'm hiking and I'm making videos, and like I'm truly living my dream. As cheesy as it sounds, it's a very simple and quaint dream, but it is my dream, and it was a very special moment, and I'm glad that it happened. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and read a book, some Fellowship of the Ring. Hope to be out of bed early tomorrow, but I don't know. My last trip I ended up sleeping until like 9. So we'll see how I feel in the morning. So it was definitely a long night last night. For whatever reason, I didn't get a lot of sleep. I normally sleep relatively well in the woods. It was a very noisy night, not necessarily in a bad way. It was just, it was almost overwhelming at times. There was elk bugling, there was an owl nearby, there were some coyotes making noise up over on the ridge over here. So there was just a lot going on, and it just sort of kept me interested throughout the whole night and sort of kept me up. I had a little bit of condensation in the sleeping bag, so I started getting a little bit cold probably around like 3 or 4 a.m. just because my sleeping bag was starting to lose loft. It wasn't from touching the sidewalls on the tent, it was like condensation, you know, from my body. It's pretty cold here, as you can see. It definitely hit freezing last night. There's frost out there in the meadow. So it was super humid, super cold, and it was just kind of a recipe for a wet sleeping bag. If I wanted to do this for 3 or 4 days or something like that, my sleeping bag would probably get just a little bit too wet. I'm still working on a solution for that. The two options that I have in mind are, one, a vapor barrier liner. Doesn't allow any vapor to come from my body and then get into the insulation and therefore condense and make the sleeping bag wet so it doesn't lose loft. The problem with VBLs is that they can be a little bit clammy, obviously, just because you're sweating in them the whole night and there's nowhere for that sweat to go. Option 2 would be an Alpha Direct overquilt. The benefit there is that the water vapor is going to move through the sleeping bag and then condense in the Alpha Direct, and I don't have to worry about my sleeping bag losing loft. It is an absolutely beautiful morning. It's relatively clear. Sunlight's kind of peeking up over the ridge here. I'll probably get packed up pretty soon. It's, you know, a 3-hour hike. Probably out, something like that, roughly. I am going downhill this time though, which will make it a little bit speedier. And then it's a 2.5-hour drive home. Got to get out of here at a reasonable time. We're gonna take engagement photos tonight, assuming I get home in time. So for now, I'm gonna finish this cup of tea. I'll probably make another, and then I'm gonna cook up some breakfast, and then yeah, I'll start packing up camp. So I'm still using the BRS 3000T stove. I'm just testing it out and seeing how well it works. I wouldn't say that it is the best in cold weather, but it's definitely getting the job done. It is boiling things. I'm just finding that this late into the season, it sometimes takes a little longer than I would expect. Generally speaking, upright canister stoves aren't the best in cold weather, especially at or below freezing. But there's definitely other stoves on the market that are canister stoves that perform much better in cold weather, like the MSR Reactor. Again, it's getting the job done, just taking a little while and probably going through a shit ton of fuel. Also, my campsite wasn't exactly level last night. So the deal is there's actually a flat spot right next to where I'm camped. It's the logical tent site in this place, 4 or 5 feet over. There's a huge dead standing tree. There's obviously nothing that I can do if the whole tree decides to come down, but I didn't want to have any branches falling off of it in the middle of the night and spearing me through my tent. All right, my final camera battery is at 2%, so thanks for watching, and if you like trip videos, check out this one next.